Hello everyone, I'm Bill. Welcome back to my channel. We are in the Mythic Adventures book today. This is the continuation of my War Magic series where we look at spells and see what unique ways we could apply them to change a medieval battlefield situation, not a regular D&D encounter for a party, but something that deals in the hundreds to thousands of soldiers and stuff fighting, as well as sieges. So this is in this video we'll be covering level 2 arcane spells, and I will be looking at the wizard sorcerer spell list, and we will also be looking up some of these spells to see how they changed from the core rulebook to the Mythic Adventures. Now the other caveat is you have to be using this Mythic Adventures book to gain access to this Mythic Adventure magic. So, animal aspects I don't think will be any useful to you. Blindness/deafness could be. Let me see how it changed. You can cause the target to be both blind and deafened at the same time. The target must attempt a saving throw against each effect separately. Put that on some one-use items, say ammunition for a bow, crossbow, sling. I like the sling idea because I'm always imagining 4 or 5 rows worth of shield wall soldiers, and the ones that are in the back have the slings with this ammo, and they're launching it over the shield wall into the enemies. And when it hits, it activates. But you could also put this on, have this for your archers specifically, and have them target mages or have them target knights that are charging, so on and so forth. Boiling blood, that was a good one. That one was also in the divine video. Burning gaze. With the boiling blood, you want to do the same thing. You want to put it on some one-use ammunition and hit the enemies with it. Just don't use it on orcs because it gives them a bonus and allows them to rage. Burning gaze, that could be very useful. Let's look that one up. You focus your burning gaze on a creature or object as a move action instead as a standard action. The target takes 1d8 points of fire damage for failing its save, and for each round it's on fire. Augmented. If you expend 2 uses of mythic power once during the spell duration, you can, as a full action, direct your burning gaze at up to 1 creature per caster level. Whoa. So assuming you can only target 1 creature with the base version of it, I'd give that to a bunch of your soldiers that are 2nd or 3rd row back. Say they have these very cheaply made goggles that have this magic on them, one-use item, and a command word to say. They put the goggles on, they look at their target, they say the command word, the burning gaze activates, they take the target takes the damage for however long, and if it allows them to transfer from one to another, like duration-wise, I don't have burning gaze itself in front of me, so I don't remember how long it lasts, but each time they switch targets, they catch another one on fire until the spell ends. When the spell ends, say the goggles crack. Darkness, that's going to be very useful, especially if you needed to get out of there, or if you know that the enemy could see in darkness. If you drop an area of darkness that they can't see through that, you could set that in an area where you have traps. You could set that in an area where you have other ambushes in mind. But let's see how it changed in this version. The illumination level in the area drops to darkness regardless of the existing light conditions. Non-mythic spells and effects can't increase the light level in the area. Creatures with dark vision and the power to see in darkness have difficulty seeing through this darkness and can see as well as a human can in dim light. Creatures in the area of darkness take a -2 penalty on saves against fear. You could put the darkness on some ammunition and drop that into areas using the sling, using a bow, because the range increments for all ranged weapons is 10 is the max you can shoot. To target a ground, the DC is 5. So from there, most targeting areas, if you're just trying to drop something in a specific area, you're not going to miss that much. You might be off by 5 feet left or right, 5 feet further up or further back. But if the darkness is a radius spell as it is, you don't have to worry about that. Disfiguring touch, that would be very gruesome to have on a bunch of one-use ammunition. Dust of Twilight. Disfiguring touch. Target takes 2 different penalties chosen from the same list instead of 1. Augmented. If you expend 2 uses of mythic power, the target also gains the fatigue condition because it is painful disfigurement. If this fatigue is negated without removing the curse, it returns after 1 hour. Dust of Twilight. A creature that fails its fortitude save against the spell must also succeed at a will save at the same DC or fall asleep as the sleep spell. Creatures that succeed at their saves are merely drowsy as the spell Lullaby. If you expend 2 uses of mythic power to augment this, add half your tier to the level of the light spell Mythic Dust of Twilight dispels. Interesting. I could see that being interestingly useful if you can drop that dust. If you can drop that dust on a group of enemies, that can be very useful. I just don't know if Dust of Twilight's a single target or an area. It is not a spell that I've used much in my gaming history. False Life, Fog Cloud, that'll be useful. Area of Cloud, you can use that to make it harder for the enemies to see. You can make it harder for them to plan on the outside. The generals giving the orders and stuff. It'd be harder for them to see what's going on, to know how to encourage a charge, when to have a charge for the cavalry. Fog Cloud. The radius of the fog increases to 50 feet. Augmented. If you expend 2 uses of mythic power, it's now 500 feet, and the height's 100 feet. And wind cannot dissipate it. If you're at least 6th tier, and you use 3 uses of mythic power, the range is 1 mile. And the radius changes to 1 mile, and its height changes to 500 feet. So if you could get access to any of the larger versions, that would be a big game changer for you. If you're setting up the battlefield and you don't want them to be able to know where you are, how many you have, what traps might be present, you could drop that in the area, especially right before they set up to fight. You could alternatively use that to cover a siege area, and then by the cover of the fog, sneak in. Make a nice raid on them. Even if you weren't using that as your main battle, that's enough to really mess with them. The fact that you can A, control the weather, and B, get in there. Gust of Wind. I believe Gust of Wind got more powerful. And the force of the wind increases to windstorm, approximately 70 miles per hour. All effects described in the spell affect creatures one size larger. Range attacks can't be attempted in the area of this spell. The wind automatically blows out unprotected flames and has a 75% chance of blowing out protected flames. Augmented. Second, if you expend 2 uses of mythic power, the spell lasts for 1 additional round and the range increases by 30 feet. As a swift action at the start of your turn, you can expend another use of mythic power to extend the duration by 1 round and the range by another 30 feet. So it's not as great as I was expecting, but it is powerful. Hideous Laughter. Imagine dropping a bunch of that on the enemy while they're trying to fight or trying to concentrate. So I'd put that on some ammunition and hand it to your soldiers. Invisibility, that one's useful to your strike force, usually your PCs. But unless you're going to apply it to all your soldiers at once, and I don't mean like the whole military, I mean like say 100 soldiers. Unless you're going to use that on 100 soldiers at once, I don't see it being too helpful. But here's the mythic version of invisibility. The invisibility target can't be detected with detect magic. I always thought that was interesting that you could find invisible creatures with detect magic. Other spells that detect magic auras, or other spells that detect magic auras. The invisibility can't be penetrated, revealed, or dispelled by spells of second level or lower. Such as see invisibility or glitter dust, though true seeing and dust of appearance can reveal the invisible target's presence. Augmented third, if you expend 2 uses of mythic power, the invisible target is undetectable by blind sense, blind sight, scent, and tremor sense. I'm foreseeing more and more uses of it now, so I would use that on a small but powerful unit of soldiers, something that numbered 100 or 200, because you're in second level spells, so it's starting to get expensive to do this stuff. But as creative as we can be, it's still entertaining to think of. So imagine 200 soldiers that nobody can see, waiting for their time. Say you're dropping the other effects on the soldiers, causing some chaos. Then all of a sudden they either pop up behind them or to their right or left, and they don't even really pop up. Say they attack from behind them, they didn't even see them approach. They might have heard them approach, depending upon how well they could hear behind them while combat's going on in front of them. And now you have a force getting destroyed on 2 sides. After the first attack, your guys become visible. Jitterbug, knock, levitate, make whole, mirror image. Jitterbugs. Jitterbug could be okay. I don't know enough about it, and they don't give me a big enough description here. Starting on the second round of the spell, the affected target must succeed a fortitude save on your turn or be nauseated for 1 round, as if distracted by an actual swarm. So it sounds like it'd be useful, especially if you could drop that on multiple enemies. Then again, put it on ammunition and using it as I've been saying. The mythic version of Knock unlocks up to 3 means of closure instead of 2. The spell automatically opens locks of simple or average quality without requiring a caster level check to do so. If used on a door locked with an arcane lock, you can attempt a free dispel check against it as if using targeted dispel magic, adding your tier to it. Augmented third, you can expend 2 uses, unlocking up to 4 means of closure on each, allowing a free dispel against an arcane lock on each, and automatically opening locks up to good quality with no caster level check. If the door has a trap that triggers when opened, you become aware of the trap and its general nature, and the door is unlocked but doesn't automatically open. The spell can raise a barrier, gate, portcullis, or similar impediment, but each one counts as 2 locked doors. That can be very useful, especially breaking into a fortified area. What were the others? Levitate, make whole, and mirror image. Levitate. Instead of affecting 1 creature, you can affect a number of targets up to your caster level, but the total weight supported can be no more than 100 pounds per caster level. You can spend a move action to mentally direct all targets, but you must move all of them identically. If you expend 10 uses of mythic power, you permanently levitate a 5-foot cube of rock, which you can move 20 feet vertically or horizontally as a move action. If you have created multiple cubes and they are physically touching each other, you can direct them all as a single move action, as if they were one object, even if some of them are out of range. Each levitated cube can support approximately 1,000 pounds of weight, allowing you to use it as a portion of the foundation for a bridge, floating castle, or similar construction project. And that's what I was thinking as it was saying permanently levitate. So you can make a floating castle or fortification or bridge or whatever with this. That's very awesome. Make whole. The damage the spell repairs increases 2d6 points of damage per caster level when cast on a construct creature. A construct repaired with this spell gains +2 enhancement bonus to ability scores of your choice for the next 24 hours. To repair a magic item, your caster level has to be equal to only the caster level of the magical item, not double the caster level. Cool. Mirror image. The maximum number of images generated by this spell increases to 12. Destroying an image creates a flash of light. Any creature that destroys an image must succeed a will save or be dazzled for 1 round. That's cool. I can see that being very useful for your spellcasters, that are in your strike force, your players. For them, when they go into a enemy fortification, if they could cast that version in a big skirmish as they're trying to leave, then every one of the enemies that hits that image has a chance to be dazzled, so almost blinded for 1 turn. It's not as powerful as blinded, but it's pretty good. Pernicious poison, protection from arrows, resist energy, ricochet shot. Protection from arrows would be great to put on the shields of your soldiers and have them activate that when arrows start flying at them. And it'd just be a 1-use spell on their shield. Resist energy, ricochet shot. Resist energy is good, but your best use of that's in potion form, but hand that out to your soldiers. The most common would be fire or acid, because those would be the 2 things from a fortified position they would use on, as well as from a regular military perspective, you would use a lot of fire. Scorching Ray. Scorching Ray would be good as 1-use item. So let's see how good that would be. Each ray's damage increases to 66 points of fire damage. The first ray bypasses fire resistance and immunity. Damn. Now that's going to hurt most things immune to fire, so that'd be great. Spider climb's useful. You give that to your soldiers. They can scale the walls quickly in a siege. Summon Swarm and Web. Summon Swarm and Web are the last 2 that look like they're going to be any use. The Swarm has the advanced simple template, so they're a little bit more powerful. A swarm of rats or spiders leaves behind a trail of filth or ichor when it moves. I read this spell whenever I was looking at the divine spells. Okay, so its application would be pretty good, having that come up, and then it's leaving a greasy thing behind them that lasts for at least 1 round. And the bats would leave a similar trail that lasts for 2 rounds but doesn't have the disease or poison effect. So bringing that up into a siege, bringing that up into the middle of the fighting army would be hilarious, because they would all lose focus as all these swarms of stuff start crawling up their legs as they're trying to fight in an organized fashion. And at that point, you just hit that side harder with your forces and push through. And then web. The webs are filled with spider swarms. 1 spider swarm for each 10-foot by 10-foot area covered in webs. Any creature caught in or moving through the webs is attacked by a spider swarm, or multiple swarms, if it passes through the space of more than 1 swarm. The spiders don't leave the area of the web. Destroying the web in the area destroys the swarms therein as well. And completely destroying the web destroys all swarms. If you expend 2 uses of mythic power for the augmentation 5, the web increases to 50-foot radius spread. Webs span any gaps between available anchor points in the area, possibly creating multiple non-contiguous webbed areas. Non-mythic abilities that make creatures immune to webs, such as freedom of movement, instead give them a +5 bonus on saves, combat maneuver checks, and escape art checks against the mythic web. That is, the mythic version of this is going to be more useful than the non-mythic one, but that said, anything that would allow you to control the soldier's movement would give you an advantage. So this could be very useful. Drop, use flasks for instance. Have this spell in a flask, activates when the flask breaks, and just have them chuck it over the enemies into the middle of their forces or at the enemy shields and stuff. And when it hits, the webs start spreading out, and then the spider swarms are there. It could be very, very hard for them to move, and then they're taking all this swarm damage from the spiders and poison. So I can see that being very useful. Those are the spells that I saw that were useful. Is there any that I said and we looked at that wasn't useful, that would be useful to you? If so, put them in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video series, check out the beginning of the series where I go through the core rule book and the other books and see how we use some of those spells. Until we all game again, guys.